We are live.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Right now we're on our session, which is commercial co-living, adjusting to the new demand and awards, which will be followed later. Well, with the restaurants not finding enough footfalls, business postponing their expansion plans, rents being renegotiated, the commercial real estate has taken a beating. What is the way forward and what are the key learnings? Well, ladies and gentlemen, for this, we've got our speaker cum moderator, Piyush Jain, Executive Director, Head Investor Sales India and Head Advisory and Transactions, North and East India, CBRE. Also joining us as our panelists are Uddhav Podar, Managing Director, Bhumika Group, and National Co-Chair, ASSOCHAM, Ease of Doing Business Council. Also, we're joined by Sahil Vachani, CEO and Managing Director, Max Ventures and Industries Limited. We're also joined by Amit Raj Jain, the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing, BPTP Limited. And towards the end, we're also joined by Ankit Aditya Pradhan, founder, Viraj Ventures and Realty Assistant. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd now leave the floor and stage open to our panelists. Over to you.
Thank you, Bhavna. Uh, Good morning, everyone, and hope all of you are keeping safe. Glad to be part of this 12th Annual Awards and Conference. I think definitely in the new avatar of virtual world, but welcome all. Whilst we talk about commercial real estate, in the last uh, decade and a half, it has made great strides. We've literally had a bull run across sectors, across verticals of commercial, retail, and the other sides of business. There's been definitely been a robust demand from clients as well as organized real estate developers have really impacted the way that we look at real estate. Commercial real estate has definitely been the flag bearer of the RE sector. And hopefully, post-COVID takes, it should be the flag bearer of the sector as well to bounce back. Whilst the commercial real estate sector in India has seen strong occupier interest, especially from the technology side, banking, financial, research, consulting, as well as the flex space operators, which have really kind of changed the landscape in the last 12 months. Definitely, there is plan for the future, especially after COVID as well. So to discuss that, I've got old friends, colleagues, as well as people who I've worked across the table as well. Welcome all of you guys. Whilst we discussed about the new demand and the way forward in the sector, I'm sure everyone will find this, the session curated to their needs as well. So welcome all. Before I, start talking about the market, I would like to, just give a little background on what's happening on the real estate trends in the country. There is definitely a change in the market dynamics due to COVID, the way we look at office space, the way we look at retail space. But just to talk about, what we've been witnessing in the recent past. There's definitely, unprecedented change in the way people function out of offices. People look at office space. People talk about technology being integrated. The strategized reworking of moving back to office, the flex space, how it's kind of integrated in the overall scheme of things. A couple of quarters back, we were all talking about, collab spaces where people could interact, understand each other, innovation, technology were the buzzwords. But now with social distancing, it's kind of rejigged into a new format altogether. As we also look at health and wellness, all of us are aware about LEED certification, but the wellness certification is kind of key and would be definitely looked by a lot of occupiers going forward. Adoption of technology, though we've been slow, but artificial-based intelligence for specifically for retail footfalls, for office as well, for distributing air quality, as well as the entire visitor management and FM side of the work has really changed into the digitalization of our office spaces as well. Whilst we have a couple of developers on the panel as well, when we talk about the FM side of the work, there is also a lot of work that has been done on the base build as well, and we'll talk about that during the course of our discussion today. Lastly, I would also want to like to touch upon we're definitely looking at satellite workspaces. Though it's an opportunistic approach to commercial real estate, but it's kind of become a key sector in itself in the last 24 months. There is definite institutionalization of this sector as well, with big players, global players entering the market, and also clients looking at an integrated model, much different from what a typical business center or flex space was to be. but more customized, curated for themselves. So whilst we discuss all that, I'm sure you find this session quite insightful. Let me start with Udav. Udav, morning. Nice to see you across. Doing the virtual avatar, as I said earlier. Before we start, I just want the panelists to just talk about their experiences, their point of view on the sector, be it retail, commercial, as well as their development. But also, Udav, I just like to get a little personal touch because this panel is a little different. All of us have got into real estate by chance, by family, by otherwise as well. You had very different backgrounds before you came to real estate. So before we talk about your experience, just give us a little background, and I would request the other panelists as well whilst they talk about the real estate.
Yes, I was from a business family. We were running, my father and his brothers were running manufacturing businesses across India. And I kind of branched out and started my own vertical. And so I'm doing logistics and I'm doing real estate. We had a large tract of land in Udaipur city. And that was my first development, which I'm developing. And it's about 2 million square feet. We're doing phase 1, which is 1 million square feet, which is likely to get delivered in the next 3 months. And now we're looking at doing multiple projects. We've already signed up 2 more projects.
Nice. So just from your perspective, just to get the ball rolling, your experience in the real estate sector has been, coming from a family business to your own entrepreneurial venture. But just about the sector, any start points for you from your perspective?
In the 4 years that I've been in this sector, the sector has seen 4 things: demonetization, GST, RERA, and now COVID. So I've seen. I've had a journey in these 4 years. But I think the sector is a great sector to be in, and there's a lot of opportunity. There are very limited organized players, and that's where the opportunity is. So I'm very bullish about the sector.
Nice. Sahil, sorry, I'm just going to jump on to you as well on this one. You've had a very, very nice building that has come across in Noida. I think it's definitely the market benchmark, and that was the first building. When you came and conceptualized the entire thing, you didn't have a real estate background. You were very different from a manufacturing side of the family business. How's your journey been?
Thanks, Piyush. It's great to be here. The journey has been actually extremely rewarding and very exciting, I have to say, at the very least. I think the real estate sector, as Uddhav said, we believe is poised for disruption of sorts with organized players moving in. I think trust, credibility is something that was hugely lacking in the sector. People traditionally had made their wealth in this sector purely on land arbitrage. But I think increasingly moving forward, value is going to get created in truly adding value in the real estate aspect of it and curating and building and creating experiences. So that's what we've done, not just in Max Towers, Piyush, as you have seen, but also across our second development, Max House, and the third development, Max Square. We believe that there is a huge opportunity. Delhi NCR is a city of 25 million people. You compare this to any large metropolitan city in the world with this kind of population, and there are more than 20 plus very top, successful developers. If we look at the Delhi NCR market, probably can count them on one hand, if that too as well. So I think there's a huge opportunity. Having said that, I think the sector requires a lot of patience. It's a long gestation business. And I think in the world of startups and in the world of unicorns and in the stock market, and when we see, I think for most of the new generation or guys, who kind of went to school with Uddhav, you and myself, I think, it's not that appealing for a lot of people to be in the sector, given the gestation for the business. But I think that they say overnight success usually takes 20 years, right? So I think the challenge is the time period, and if you have a long enough horizon, look at it long enough, I think there's a lot of success to be had.
Absolutely. No, I think very well said. I think one of your key points for your development is it's such a nice and a healthy mix of everything that you would probably want under an office building. Be it the retail space that you've got, or a flex space, or traditional office space. So I think with that new normal, let me jump to. You've had a very different background as well. From technology, prop tech, brokerage as well. Where do you see the sector? And just give us a little flavor of your background as well.
Yeah, thanks, Piyush. Thanks for having me here. Basically, I had a very strange background. And when I was in my high school, I sold my first real estate space, and I thought, yeah, this is my calling.
So that was really young.
Days, so of course that was to my parents, family, friends and all. But yeah, I did that. And then during my engineering days, I was really fascinated by the development happening at the Noida Expressway. So primarily, we went into the consultation space. And, coming from a service class background, I always thought that, people were duped out because of the unorganized sector of real estate. So we thought we should always do a kind of organized player, being an organized player into the industry and giving the right kind of consultation, the transparency that was required towards this asset class. And today, I don't think that, pandemic has really, it has jolted us, but I feel it has also given us a lot of opportunities because it's always a blessing in disguise. I feel it has impacted on the lifestyle, it has impacted on our work style. And definitely people have started thinking over quality of life and quality of work. And when we talk about quality of life, we need larger residential spaces. When we talk about quality of work, we need better offices, we need spaced out spaces. Everything definitely increases the demand of real estate. So I don't think so that, we are going any way downhill. We are definitely going uphill as far as either form of real estate is concerned, residential or commercial.
No, very well said. I mean, nice to get your first sale happening in your high school. I mean, not many of us would have thought as a summer job at that time. Okay, let me start the panel discussion. Udhav, I'll come to you, Wais, at the start itself. But just, you've had a very interesting mix of commercial and retail. Just from your perspective, I mean, and retail market is probably the one which is the worst hit, if I was to say that. I mean, from your perspective, where do you see that market moving from now? I mean, would it be next 4 to 6 quarters? Would it be a year? And also, what are the fundamental changes that have happened in the retail sector? The way it's operated, it's managed. You've got the entire customer experience being changed in the last 12 months. So, from your perspective, what have you really seen the change that has happened and taken this market by storm?
Just to get the context right, I think this is a temporary situation. I'm a firm believer that business will be back to normal like earlier once the situation is out of control, is back in line, back in track, and I believe in the India growth story. All in all. So of course, last quarter results, if you see for all industries, mostly you see the numbers have been good, which clearly shows that India is bouncing back quite strongly. So which is good, except of course a few sectors which you can't help, like aviation and hospitality, which of course are directly affected by this pandemic. And I think the government has taken quite a few small steps, which will eventually help us in creating India as a strong investment destination. Now, if you see the interest rates are very, very low. Similarly, the tax rate in India is probably the lowest in South Asia. This is all poising for India to become a great investment destination. And I see once that happens, and once money starts moving into India, businesses start moving into India, commercial real estate will obviously, gain from that. That's my general perspective. If we talk about retail, of course, there's been a lot of pain in the last 9 to 12 months in the retail sector, and developers and retailers have both really struggled. But somehow they've managed to arrive at some sort of settlement among themselves. And there is no one size fits formula for this, because it all depends on how strong your brand is, how strong the location is. And nobody wants to leave a great location, neither does somebody want to let a good brand go out of their premises. So they've eventually come to a settlement among themselves. But of course, it's painful. For this 12 months, it's painful. But on a general basis, what I've seen is that developers have converted their fixed rentals into some sort of a revenue share till March. And I think to some extent that's fair. When I see what's happening with our development, which are under construction, we have not had any renegotiation of rentals. All the retailers have committed to work on the same rental. The only change we see is that retailers are asking for a slightly deferred possession. Possession in January, they're now asking for possession in March or April. And that's why that's basically what it is right now. I'm sorry, I missed the second part of the question. If you would like to.
No, I was just, just talking from a perspective of, with the change, I mean, as you mentioned at the start of the conversation itself, that, it's a temporary phenomenon. Things will change and things will improve, and it'll definitely get back to. It's a different way of experiencing shopping right now. If you were to get your retailers back, so interesting. I mean, I think you covered. I would probably come back to you on the government and the RBI, take on this. Where do you see?
The only thing I would add in this is, of course, we made some technology changes. I think most of the developers have made some changes, like the guidelines for air conditioning, which is required to be done. Also reducing the number of touch points. So if you had any doors which were openable, you're converting them into automatic doors and stuff like that. Reducing touch points is something I think which everyone is looking at. And on a general basis, I don't think that everything will move online. I think e-commerce and organized retail are here to stay together. If you see the overall pie of retail in India, 75% is still unorganized. So I think both the sectors are going to grow. E-commerce might grow at a faster pace, but I think both the sectors are going to grow.
No, I think it's at that that point. I mean, we're definitely whilst you're talking about as you are a developer, but whilst you're talking about retailers and the customers as well, I think it's about engagement. The entire shopping experience has changed a lot. Okay, now let me just talk to Sahil. I mean, Sahil, just from your perspective, I mean, you've seen agility in your offerings in your commercial buildings. From your perspective, where do you see this market? In the next 4 to 6 quarters, there's definitely been demand which is kind of subdued a bit. But having said that, I mean, there is an opportunity in sublets that are happening in the market. There's an opportunity where people are looking at reorganizing their space as well. And I think, even at your developments, I mean, you're offering something which is kind of a mix of everything as well. And literally, even the Delhi offering has kind of amplified, what you've been talking about, marketing a building which just not has a commercial office space or a traditional experience, but also the whole host of the newer experiences as well. So just from your perspective, where do you see the market in the next 4 to 6 quarters?
Sure. So firstly, I think, Piyush, the COVID has changed the way office space is going to go moving forward. There's no question or there's no doubt about that. So I'd like to just paraphrase that answer in the sense, I don't think it's just about 4 to 6 quarters. It's possibly moving more than that as well, firstly. Secondly, I think particularly in terms of how that's changed, I think a lot of people spoke about whether work from home is going to be the new normal and is office space going to be required at all or not. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think office spaces are going to be required. Having said that, I think the nature of office spaces are going to change quite a lot. So let me give you an illustration, an example. I think traditionally people used to go to the office, sit on the desk, do emails, clear emails. I don't think that's what an office is going to be required for moving forward. For most corporates, both Indian, multinational, big, small, or whatever. I think emails with technology and the access to technology with what we have, we can do emails wherever and however we want. So what is office going to be required for? Office is going to be required for everything else, for innovation, for collaboration, for working together. And we have seen in this pandemic, in the last 7-8 months, that initially work from home was fantastic. Everybody said Zoom and it's so productive, and it was, and it is. But increasingly, you've realized that you miss the physical interaction, you miss the ability to motivate the team, you miss the ability to innovate, to be creative, to really have the conversations on by the water cooler, or walking around here, or those impulsive things, and those are extremely important. So I think offices are going to transform towards the following. They're going to transform towards spaces that encourage collaboration, innovation, creativity, and productivity. They're going to transform to more technology led spaces. They're going to transform to extreme focus on health and mental well-being. And please note, I didn't say just health and safety, but health and mental well-being, because I think increasingly we have realized that the psychological and mental well-being of our tenants and of our employees at any companies is of paramount importance. So these are some of the ways in which I think offices are going to change. More so, I believe that occupiers will now seek adaptability, seek flexibility, seek because they don't know what's going to happen now. Since we've lived through this, please appreciate the last time someone lived through a pandemic was 100 years ago, so very few of those people would be alive or relevant as kind of in focus right now. So having said that, I think that this will change the way people they won't want to get locked in for longer leases, do larger capexes. So some people may view those as challenges, but I think that particularly those are opportunities for people like ourselves who develop buildings that focus on emotional, physical, mental well-being, focus on spaces that talk a certain language, that embody the philosophy, not just for certification of we've got a LEED certification, but truly live it in terms of well-being, sustainability, focus on environment, social governance. So I think the whole ESG framework, well-being framework, these are things that developers need to look at moving forward, and also flexibility and technology.
Sure. I think, very interesting thing that you mentioned, even in our surveys that we've done at CB, 85% of the people would want to get back to work. Albeit, I mean, if you talk about it, I mean, they would like to have that flexibility to still work from home, probably 1 or 2 days in a week. So, it's not a phase or a gradual, but I think overall, it's again, at the end of the day, it's not fatigue that set in that you've been sitting at home for a while. But I think just from a perspective of, as you mentioned, from culture, training, collaboration, innovation, coaching, mentorship, the entire thing of, the office environment cannot be replicated back home or from a remote working. So I think that will marry in, and people will gradually look at getting back to the office, though it may be a few quarters away, or probably maybe there for a while. Whilst there are points to ponder both from a occupier perspective as well as from a developer perspective. I also welcome Amit. Amit, welcome. I know you joined a little late. I know there must have been some issue. Otherwise, you're always prompt. Nice to see you. It's been a while though. I think you're on mute, Amit. Amit, hi. Hi. So Amit, we started the conversation, just talking about, and I'll, quickly, whilst the introduction was done earlier, I'll just quickly, ask, where Sahil left is, you've had an experience of running a large, occupier building as well from a commercial side. You've also run malls. You've also run residential. Just from your perspective, from your experiences, I mean, where do you see the market going? I mean, there's definitely been brakes being put on the various sectors that you talk about on real estate. But again, from your perspective, where do you see that road to recovery, if I may call so, or the road to a gradual return to work? I mean, you start seeing in offices though, but what about your malls and about your other residential spaces as well?
Piyush, currently we're not really running malls or shopping centers, but office buildings, whatever we are running, I mean, the occupancy is almost, I mean, most of the companies are now started working with 30%, 50%, 40% staff. So a lot of companies that are operating out of our complexes where companies are running with almost 100% staff. Right. Having said that, there is also, what you mentioned earlier, it's whatever people I speak to and the customers I talk to, there is a genuine need on, users point, from the user's point of view, that they really want to come back. I mean, because of course there is risk, and there is a lot of cases are happening in Delhi now, and as per se entire NCR. Still, I mean, there is a lot of urgency in people that I speak to. They would want to join back the office, and as you rightly said, the mentorship, the connection, the kind of vibe you get in office is not there at work from home. Having said that, I think even now, if you see, there has been a positive impact on the residential market, and that is doing exceedingly well now. I mean, I think all of the developers that I speak of, I've spoken to, including ourselves, our sales are even better than pre-COVID levels in last 2 months. Right. So, of course, I mean, the categories are different. Ready to move in homes are doing better than under construction properties, and investors are clearly going towards plots. So I think the road to recovery would be not that difficult. And if you see stock market, or if you see money market, everywhere, I mean, there is a definite bounce back. And I think going forward, things should look better.
Sure. No, thanks. Nice. I mean, though we have a residential discussion later in the day, but interesting perspective because you're a kind of a diversified developer. Ankit, I'll come to you and just ask you. I mean, you've had a PropTech venture as well in the past, and you're definitely seeing technology being spoken both from a developer as well as the occupier side. Just from your perspective, where do you see? I mean, which form of technology to be really kind of getting amplified? And again, does the additional cost justify the implementation? How are your occupiers seeing and viewing this?
Definitely, I feel that technology is augmenting the sector, because in the times when we have a pandemic, we don't want to meet people, we don't want to move out, and we want to do work from our safe spaces. So all kind of video conferencing is to all kind of virtual tours, to all kind of in a way anything that can make the entire experience of real estate visit contactless is actually making the play here. And I don't think so that, as I said in the beginning, that the pandemic has taught us one thing, that quality of life is of utmost importance. So today people are not really interested in, investing in the luxuries which are materialistic, rather the, holistic experience of having a good quality of life. So the raising of costing due to all the kind of technology inputs and all kind of safety measures is hardly an issue, either for the developers or for the consumer who's paying for it. So that is definitely not all hindering the cost of technology that is being implemented. And we are like before pandemic, who thought that a real estate transaction can be entirely online? So in the lockdown, we saw that we closed numerous deals, hundreds of crores of businesses just entirely online, where the client did not even visit the site at least once. That did not happen before the pandemic. So that is a new normal that we are seeing forward to, and this has definitely given convenience to the user as well, that they need today. Every developer and every business owner has given all kind of virtual solutions available for their consumer. So today they save a lot of time and energy going from one place to other just to visit the sites. And I think this has impacted a lot towards the positive selling side of the real estate spaces across sectors.
Sure. So I'm going to come back to you. You part of SOCHAM, and for ease of doing business, part of the council. You're also part of very forums. Just from your perspective, what do you see in the government has done in the last few months, and what more could they do? Again, real estate is a big infrastructure in sector for the government as well, and there's a lot more that's desired. Again, from a developer perspective, what do you see? I mean, what government could do in the next few months, quarters, especially to support, the and bring back the well, much needed in this.
So, let's start from the beginning. I would start from the lockdown itself, right? And I know there are a lot of people who are critics of the lockdown situation, but according to me, it was a good move that the government took. And if it wasn't for the lockdown, the number of deaths would have been very, very high. Because that gave the government time to ramp up the hospital beds. And if the death rates would have been high, the sentiment would have gone very, very bad. So I'm actually thankful to the government that they locked down the country, and they ramped up the bed capacity. I'll start with that. Secondly, just before COVID, India had reduced just around COVID, the tax rate was reduced. The interest rates are, I think, lowest in the last 10 years. There's now an emergency credit line, which was earlier restricted to only debt of 50 crores, which has gone to 500 crores. I think most of the debt in real estate will also get covered. And thankfully, the government has included real estate in the 26 sectors which can avail finance for emergency credit. So 20% credit can be availed. India's ease of doing business ranking has substantially shot up in the last 4-5 years, which I think, coupled with the low tax rate, is going to drive a lot of investment into India, which will help real estate. And I like Amit said earlier, I think demand generally, especially in residential real estate, is picking up very strongly, because a lot of people who probably didn't believe in buying their own assets, have now realized the value of owning their own asset and are looking at buying assets. So this is the good part. And but there's still a lot to be done. In real estate is the largest employment generator in the country, and a lot can be done to promote this industry. The biggest problem, I think, is financing. All developers face substantial financing issues because the PSU banks are in a crisis situation. The NBFCs are failing. So there are very limited lenders who are wanting to lend. And real estate is not classified as a positive sector. It's a negative sector for banks to lend. So that's where the challenge is. Secondly, coupled with the historic issues of real estate in India, where the large institutional investors don't want to invest in greenfield assets. They only want to buy ready assets. So the capital available for developers is very limited. I think the concern for all developers, if the government can somehow solve this banking issue and make credit available to real estate, that will solve a lot of issues. And of course, we've seen what Maharashtra has done with stamp duty and what effect it's had on real estate sales in Maharashtra. I think I would request the other state governments to follow suit. That's my take.
No, perfect. I think that's very valid. I think a couple of things for us as well as the government to ponder on. Sahil, you've been part of many acquisitions. You've been financing in-house. Looking at aggressively, acquiring assets or even restructuring or redeveloping assets. Just from your perspective, while spoke about banks, and what they should be doing, just from your perspective, what further more they could do? And also, what should be the fundamental changes that the policymakers should think about, to make India as a global center for, investment? We've definitely seen in the last year and a half with new REITs coming in. and a few of them being lined up the next few months as well. So what could government do to attract investment into the sector, and also the global corporations looking at expanding making their GC centers in India. So just from your perspective, if you would like to share some.
No, sure. So I think two things. One, particularly in terms of what the government can do. If let's look back for 3 or 4 years, I think RERA and implementation of GST as a principal philosophy has been actually extremely positive overall for the sector. I believe, while there's been short-term pain and there's no doubt about it, but if one takes a longer-term lens, I think these were much required moves that were required. Having said that, I think a couple of areas where we need particular attention. If you look at a lot of assets in NCR or even in many parts of India, they are stuck or distressed assets. And we all know that acquiring distressed assets through the directly or bilaterally is extremely challenging, particularly for institutional capital. Having said that, I think the insolvency bankruptcy code that has been set up is a very, the framework is fantastic for institutional capital to acquire distressed assets and be able to turn it around. I think that's when you see a true revival of the real estate space and also of the economy. Please appreciate the construction sector still is very labor intensive and really can help churn the wheels of the economy. The challenges that we are facing, or I think that many of our colleagues and fellow companies in the industry are facing, are to one, that at a GST level, the input credit is not available for leasing. So you get input credit if you're selling your real estate, but if you are leasing real estate, you don't get input credit, and that's a huge leakage of or loss that gets stuck in the cost. The second is to expedite the insolvency resolution framework. So basically, the framework is there. It is just the execution of that framework. So I think needs a more focus to be able to push through the resolutions of that framework. And I think a combination of these two will really help move, bring in further investment to what Uddhav was saying, get banks to look at the sector more attractively, get institutional capital to come in more attractively, and also get the wheels of the economy moving. So I think that's one on the government side. Having said that, I think a lot has been done. If you see the recent policies, particularly in the office space, for the benefits that have been given to IT companies, even if they work from home. I think a lot of people saw that as a negative for the office space. I personally think that's positive for the office space. The reason I say that is I think this will lead to more outsourcing of business into India. And when the pie increases, yes, some of it may continue to work from home, work from anywhere. But as I spoke earlier, the need for an office is not going to go away. And I think so I think the framework is there. We are a destination for ITES. We've got RERA. We have we have institutional capital already interested. We have the REITs that have already been successful. I think the framework is there. It's just the execution of a couple of things, particularly the IBC and correcting the abnormally in the GST framework, I think can really help move the sector along.
No, I think absolutely what you said. I think the framework is there. We've been looking in the right direction, but it's just the implementation and the last mile that has been a challenge for most of us in various sectors. Amit, and I just come again to you. Just from a discussion perspective, we're definitely going to see a revival that's going to come. As a developer, there would be a lot of effort in bringing back the clients, getting the sentiment back. What would the marketing team of your company would do if I were to ask you, or what would digitalization would play in getting people back, making them comfortable, making them understand? We are setting the new normal right now. We're talking about not the old traditional methods, but talking about implementation of technology. Approach which is very different in what's been in the past, hub and spoke model. Just from your perspective, what has been the strategy at BBTP, or what would you think would be the key drivers to get people back to work?
See, I think firstly the adaptation of technology by the developers. So I have seen in past that developers are fairly quick to adapt to technology. Some of them, I'd rather most of them. But problem comes in wherein because at least in northern part of India, 90% of transactions are being handled by channel partners. Not all channel partners are that much technology savvy. So still, I think our marketing teams are hand holding them. We are now, creating their accounts on social media, using their account as ours, and helping them to generate leads from there, and also training them how to use technology to increase their own customer base, also to satisfy. So for example, any channel partner that we have, or any intermediary that we have, has his own set of people, so he's been able to manage them rightly now. But going forward, of course, there's a lot of work to be done there. Besides that, I think we all should also look towards having more and more systems, or wherein people do not need to really step out of the houses. For example, we've been using a lot of virtual meetings, we've been using a lot of virtual walkthroughs, and only the people who are really really interested after that, because typically in real estate, the inquiry to transaction ratio is fairly low. So on 100 inquiries, probably you'll have 10 site visits. Out of 10 site visits, you'll probably have one sale. Even in the leasing space also, even in the commercial sales space also, the ratio almost remains same. So rather than those 10 site visits, rather we'd like to reduce that to 4 or 5, maybe 3, because there are a lot of people who may not like the property. Maybe they have different things in mind. So I think going forward, that will be the new thing that every developer has to now learn and also implement it at grassroots level.
Well said. Amit, I think all of us during this last, during the pandemic and during the last 6 months have become far more technology savvy. I mean, I can guarantee you, my son knows better how to use MS Teams than I do. I mean, even I've learned Google, I've learned Zoom. I mean, we're all adapting and we're all changing as well. Let me talk to you about, whilst there's the adaptation that's happening across sectors. We're doing virtual tours, we're doing, a site tour in the office. We also, at CB as well, we're doing a lot of listing platforms as well, which basically, getting developers as well as end users together on a single platform, where they can virtually look in the office rather than actually going on the. But just from your perspective, Ankit, what would you do? I mean, differently the next year from now, as we all setting the tone for 2021, for just getting people back to do site tours, simple things, which we actually always used to think very simple. Getting back to restaurants. One is about engagement that and collaboration. That's the buzzword. But just from your perspective, which will be the key things that will get back, customers as well as clients alike?
I believe vaccinations, most important. Getting the vaccination is the most important thing today. It has always been about sentiments, right? And today, even although we can give you options virtually, but yeah, definitely you want to have the correct feel of getting onto the site when you're going to buy the commercial real estate or either residential real estate. I feel the only thing required today is that we convince our consumers that we are taking all kind of safety precautions, all kind of safety standards are being maintained, and yes, their to and fro journey and their tour at our particular sites are definitely safe. And I think that has already started. People have started moving out, and they have moved out a lot. All the retails that opened up saw great consumers coming in. All the F&B joints that started saw great consumers coming in. So I think that has already started. The only thing required today is, yeah, definitely we are a sentiment driven industry. Vaccinations or maybe some kind of resolution to this pandemic is very much required. And I think until then point in time, all is required is sustenance by the developers, sustenance by the business owners, retail owners, in terms of their cash burns and in terms of their cash flow managements. Once we can sustain that, anybody who can pass by the high tides can definitely make good success in the future. And that is it. Nothing more is required. It's still not a very uphill task to get people out of their homes and bring them towards our sites, or getting back them to the previous normal, the new normal. It's not that difficult. And you see, like of lately we have seen there had been a blessing in disguise, like Apple opened up spaces here in Bangalore, or Thales Group coming to Noida. So we are gaining a lot of global outlook as far as giants are coming in. So that definitely gives us a better sentiment for our consumers, for our retail consumers. So everything is getting on the right direction, I feel.
I think the long-term story for India is definitely positive for sure. It's also a combination of where the market's going to move. which is on the commercial side. India has been very successful in providing that $1 a square foot market across segments. And that's really attracted the global players in India, be it the Bangalore or Delhi or Noida for that matter. I think if we're in that point, which is price sensitive, at the same time providing quality for the back offices, that's really a key. Also, the driver for corporate occupiers, which is corporate commercial spaces, the front end spaces, they provide that extra, in the sense of wellness, in the quality of building, infrastructure, and the other amenities. I think they're definitely going to get back people. And obviously, the vaccine is going to be the icing on the cake. All of us are waiting for that. Sahil has had, the exposure of being in the hospital side of work, so he would probably know more than us on that side. There's a lot more that needs to be done on the logistics side.
All I know, Piyush, is that now there is a reverse medical tourism going on. Offer for 3 nights, 4 days to holiday anywhere in America and get the vaccine.
I got that message as well, and I actually checked the website. On a lighter note of that tourist company, I did check on that as well. But yeah, true that. If you're friends with the Poonawallas, I'm sure you'll get that as well first. But anyway, that's for another day's discussion. But I'm just gonna. I'm conscious of time as well. One thing for most of us is hub and spoke. We're seeing a lot of companies which are kind of diversifying, getting closer to work, getting the work closer to where people stay, and also kind of understanding and adjusting to a new normal that people won't work 5 days a week from home. So just from your perspective, have you seen that kind of demand, and where do you see that would probably hold? Are you redeveloping your buildings with different floor plates? Because earlier, we were looking at larger floor plates, getting everyone, and I've seen buildings in Bangalore, and Delhi, and Gurgaon of 100,000 square feet on a single floor. Again, readjusting from a development side, and also the hub and spoke. I'll start with you, and then I'll turn it around here.
So we have a couple of buildings in NCR, and what we've realized that going forward, people are not looking offices. So if you see, everybody wants to get back to office. People, of course, people are waiting for vaccine to come in, but because offices are not used to be what they were 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Offices have changed, the buildings have changed. There's so much of social interaction that happens in office. People miss going to office not because of work. Work is happening online. You are at least 80 maybe more efficient than what you were in office while you're working from home. But besides going to office, besides making money, besides advancing your career, there is one more aspect: you get to meet people. So we in our buildings have created a lot of social spaces, and the idea is, of course, office is there, but human to human interaction and the kind of satisfaction that a person goes just by going there. The whole ambience of the building is such that people feel as if rather than going to an office, they're visiting a place of recreation. Not really truly recreation, but people feel happy going to such places. Not that those drab offices. So that's the few changes that we have done in our newer building. We have one in Noida that's about 0.7 million square feet. And I think that's going to be the new normal. And the buildings that are, those old Connaught-based buildings and old economy buildings, I doubt, at least corporate occupiers would be taking up that.
Sure. And very interesting point that you said is, as we're seeing some sort of revival of, people looking at city center locations back. I think it's a combination of, keeping your GC centers back where they are, but also giving a touch point in the city center. And just to give a point, case in point, we have an office in Delhi and today I'm working out of Delhi. It just gives me an ease to be in the center of the city rather than going, traveling if I just need to be for a specific purpose. Because in the last 6-12 months, it really taught us that we could work remotely. Uddhav, let me just check with you on the retail side of things. You've had very different shopping experience, as people have come. Cinema operators have opened up partially, and obviously it's gone to a different scheme of things again. We've seen a new breed of people helping shoppers come back as well. Selective shopping happening remotely as well. And again, there is a touch point in the sense of getting that experience of touch and feel of something that you would want to buy and something that you want to buy remotely. So, just from your experience, where do you see this and how would it change? Obviously, there's going to be a fundamental shift that 100% of people won't come back. But where do you see this, going forward?
I think, like Amit said, humans are social animals and they love to go out. Not just, it's not about the shopping experience, but it was the overall experience of eating out, meeting your friends, having a cup of coffee with them, watching a movie, all of that together. So, which is what people are missing right now. So I think once things are back to normal, people will be back in full force. Of course, certain I'll say sectors like electronics. Electronics doesn't require touch and feel maybe, so that could probably move more online. But if you're talking about clothes and food, people will want to will again be back to where it was. That's my view.
No, no, absolutely. I think some sectors do require the touch and feel. The others could work remotely. So I think it'll be a combination, as you say, going forward. And again, typically in the office sector as well, whilst even in retail, as you mentioned, you've seen, far more understanding between the developer and the client as well, where they would want him to retain, be in the building as well. At the same time, rejigging the revenue share model or rejigging the rental model. Whilst in the office space, it's you're saying something.
Yeah, so I think a lot of retailers are now working on that model as well, where they're giving the shopper an option to probably select something and just pick it up, or select online and drive through and pick it up. So there are lots of 2, 3 omni kind of models being worked out by retailers, and I think
Right.
you see them being rolled out soon.
Sure. And again, whilst in the office sector, and typically what I've seen in the past as well, a lot of companies you're trying to look at an hub and spoke model, where they would want to get closer to their, employees, internal customers, if I may call so, and giving them a soft landing to return to work. And we definitely in the office space we've seen lettings and sublettings happening, where a lot of secondary space is kind of getting leased out. And I think it's a good point because developers, whilst the constructions have been delayed, but also typically in India, and we've seen that quality supply is always being chased by demand. So with the market by the quarters and demand coming back, we'll definitely see that pent up demand. Consumers both on the retail side as well as in the office side occupying that space. So definitely the long-term story remains good. Just before we close, Sahil, any last things to look out for in the next few quarters?
No, I think the office. I think you said it very well, Piyush. The demand will gravitate towards developments that offer a holistic experience, and I think the focus here is on experience, on well-being, on safety, on hygiene, on all of the things that we've spoken about, and also the last point that you made, which is around flexibility. I don't know if you noticed, but Standard Chartered globally has moved to work from home, work near home, work from office model, and a hybrid solution that that encourages employees to choose wherever they want to work, and they're tying up with operators that are giving them such solutions. So I think there's a huge opportunity for the players in this space, but it's interesting because it's evolving so rapidly. The technology is evolving rapidly. The landscape is evolving rapidly. Everything is. So it's a really exciting time to be here. And no, thank you. That's all from my side.
Thanks, Sahil. Ankit, last few words from you. I mean, I know you're looking for the vaccine, but anything else you would like to add?
I just like to add one thing. Like there are just 3 points to any kind of commercial real estate. We have got large corporates who are looking for better spaced out spaces, better mental well-being spaces, so they can definitely move towards getting larger spaces. That's a big demand for us. The smaller people who just want to cut down on their costs will be moving towards the co-working spaces. That is again a demand creation for us. And on the second side, when we talk about working from near to your space, or maybe working with satellite offices, co-working and co-living go hand in hand. So that's again a demand creation for us towards the co-living spaces. And above all, I feel that adaptation, evolution, and acceptability to change is something that is always required. And like the change is only constant. So we are looking forward towards it, and we are positive about it.
Right. Amit, I know there's no one success mantra, but if you were to give a key takeaway from today's discussion, what would that be?
Change and evolve. That's the only mantra you can see. I mean, if you don't change with time, because the way technology is changing, the way buyer preferences is changing, I think that's the only way to go forward. And of course, I mean, once you change, you have to evolve as well. So I think change and evolve is the mantra today that I think I learned today.
Udav, yeah, I mean, last but not the least.
I just wanted to end with one thing to, something for all the developer friends and across all over, that we all need to focus on delivery. Like Sahil mentioned earlier, that most of the investors have burned their hands because people weren't delivering on time. Whether it's institutional investors or it's retail investors. So the only way to bring confidence back for investors in the sector is if we all start delivering on time. So I think that's just something we should all focus on and nothing else. If we start doing that, I think the sector will start booming.
Absolutely.
No, that's very positive. I mean, especially coming from developers, I think I like that. I mean, developers saying that. I mean, it's always been the other side, but that's the new gen developers. I mean, talking about delivery as well. And thank all of you guys. I mean, if I were to just sum this up, I think we had a very fruitful conversation. I think one of the key takeaways have been health and mental change management, and I think lastly is engaging both at the client and the customer. That'll help us recover back. Also, I mean, the long-term story for India is always good. Would look to a new 2021, hopefully a better one. Thank you. Over to you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, esteemed panelists. We're just requesting you to stay back as we've got a couple of awards which need to be given out. So ladies and gentlemen, now it is time for the second set of awards as we have our esteemed panelists, which we'll try and cover in the next 7 minutes. So let's see how we can do that. And we've also joined by Ms. Maria right now. So ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the first award, which is the Shopping Mall of the Year National. And that goes to Vegas Mall Dwarka. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to the Vegas Mall Dwarka, a spacious and a contemporary retail center featuring brand name stores, informal eateries, and a cinema. Congratulations to the team. A Shopping Mall of the Year East, and that goes to Quest Properties India Limited. Well, Quest is one of the largest shopping malls in Kolkata, India, and it is located on the Syed Amir Ali Avenue at the Beck Began Park Circus. The mall was inaugurated on the 30th September 2013 with a gross leasable land of 7 lakh square feet and a parking for 1,300 vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, also for the environment-friendly project of the year, Retail Commercial National, and that goes to Mindspace Business Parks REIT K. Raheja Group. Well, the Mindspace Business Parks REIT, sponsored by the K. Raheja Corp Group, listed on the Indian bourses in August 2020. The REIT owns quality office portfolios located in 4 key office markets in India, namely Mumbai region, Pune, Hyderabad, and Chennai. Ladies and gentlemen, for the Developer of the Year National, and that goes to Shobha Limited. Well, Shobha epitomizes passion at work in totality. For us, it is not about the catchphrase which sounds just right. Rather, we all strive to live it daily. It serves as a compass which guides us towards creating world-class quality products. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now for the best luxury premium housing developer of the year, Residential West, and that goes to Piramal Realty. Well, Piramal Realty is the best real estate developer in India, wherein they have a huge range of residential and commercial projects across the major cities in India. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the emerging developer of the year, Industrial West, and that goes to Wellspun One Logistics Parks Private Limited. Well, Wellspun One Logistics Park is the integrated fund, asset, and development management organization designed to deliver large format institutional grade A logistics park across India. It is the only industrial warehousing platform backed by the global conglomerate, the USD 2.7 billion Wellspun Group. Well, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the most innovative architectural design, commercial and retail, and that goes to Blocher and Blocher. So, well, Blocher India focuses on the whole process, not just on the architectural concept, and develops the holistic strategies from the first concept to the realization. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now moving on to the Best Architecture Award, Public/Institutional Project, and that goes to Telangana Secretariat Building, Oscar and Pony Architects. Well, when innovation, sustainability, and creativity marry diligence and dedication, magic happens. So congratulations to the team. Also, ladies and gentlemen, for the Young Achievers Award, it goes to Mr. Mohit Goyal, Omaxe India. Congratulations, Mr. Goyal. He is the CEO of one of India's leading real estate firms, Omaxe India. Well, this second-generation entrepreneur leverages his sharp business acumen to bring about structural changes in Omaxe to essentially turn around the company at a time when the real estate sector had no traction and really tepid demand. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now moving on quickly to the Industrial Park Developer of the Year, and that goes to Bhumi World Industrial Park. Congratulations to the Bhumi World Industrial Park, which creates modern age industrial parks with plug and play units for SME and MSME. Ladies and gentlemen, now for the Residential Property of the Year South, and it goes to Abad Oasis Abad Builders Private Limited. Congratulations. Well, they are nestled in one of Kochi's fastest developing regions. Abad Oasis promises to provide residents with tranquil and peaceful haven from the hustle and bustle of the city. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now for the luxury project of the year South, and it goes to Century Ethos Century Real Estate. While presenting North Bengaluru's finest address, Century Ethos, a landmark contemporary architecture rising tall above the prime Hebel, with the luxurious three-bed residences and lifestyle experience inspired by the finest of the world, curated of the most discerning. Well, ladies and gentlemen, also now for the Integrated Township of the Year West, and that goes to Kalpataru Park City Kalpataru Limited. Well, the Kalpataru Park City is our mission to create the world-class lifestyle in the center of Thane city, a 100-plus acre township meticulously planned by the global experts is built around Thane's largest integrated 20-plus acres grand central park with a scenic lake. Well, ladies and gentlemen, quickly moving on to our next award, which is Environment Friendly Project of the Year East, and that goes to Navyom PS Group. Well, a reimagination of life and luxuries, the largest residential park in all of Alipore and the new Alipore. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now for the most innovative project of the year, Residential National, and that goes to Embassy Edge Embassy Group. Well, the Embassy Edge sprawls across 36 acres, nestled with the Embassy Springs, Bangalore's biggest and best planned township. Well, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next bit, which is the Commercial Property of the Year South, and that goes to Brigade Tech Gardens Brigade Group. Well, Brigade Tech Gardens is envisioned to be unique, flexible, and sustainable workspace designed for the contemporary business. Brigade Tech Garden is a Grade A SEZ project, master plan and concept designed by the world-renowned architecture, planning and design firm NBBJ, Seattle, USA. Well, ladies and gentlemen, quickly moving on to the next few awards which we have in this set, which is a Retail Property of the Year, less than 1 lakh square feet south, which goes to Spectra One Spectra Constructions Private Limited. Well, congratulations to the team, a design-centric real estate company with vast acumen in engineering. Spectra Constructions Private Limited has developed premium residences across Bengaluru for over a decade. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now for the last two awards in the set two, which is first up for the Retail Property of the Year, 1 to 10 lakh square feet south, and that goes to Orion Mall at the Gateway. Well, a design-centric real estate company with a vast acumen in engineering, Spectra Construction Private Limited has developed premium residences across Bengaluru for over a decade. And ladies and gentlemen, for the last award, and the winners are going to be joining us live as well, is the most sustainable architecture design commercial/retail, and that goes to Max Estates Limited. And Max Estates is an attempt to provide you with an iconic design and a superior hospitality to create an environment which integrates work and life, nurturing a more productive, healthier, and a happier community. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, well, that was for the awards, and I hope you all had a great time. But for this, if I may request from Max, who just won at the end, Mr. Anil and Rishi Raj, to join us on the stage and screen. Thank you so much. First, if I could have a word from Mr. Rishi Raj, over to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you, Bhavna. Thank you, Franchise India. Thank you for considering us for this award at Max House. As we were also speaking in the previous panel, we have very carefully curated many different aspects of wellness, including world-class 6-layer of air filtration, which all of us believe will go a long way in fulfilling our core promise as Max states of work well, which is what we promise to all our prospective clients and tenants, work well to employees of all our prospective clients. So at this point in time, I would just like to thank entire team of Max Estates. I have with me Anil Malhotra, who headed the project, and his team. And thank you to the jury. Thank you to Franchise India for considering us for such a prestigious award, which I think, especially in post-COVID world, long-term sustainability is going to be one of the key differentiator for even grade A assets moving forward. So thank you once again.
Thank you. Congratulations. Mr. Anil Malhotra, if we could get 30 seconds from you as well. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the jury. And thank you so much to Sahil ji, who has given us this opportunity for this iconic building. And this is the, I think, best iconic building in Delhi, because we have changed the style of the building. Most of the builders are doing in glass and the loco bound and all that. But first time our architect and our design team had decided to go for a contemporary like of a building with a brick look, European style, with the lighting in all part of the building, with the well standards and all that. So thank you very much to the Sahil ji and my team, who has given us the opportunity to be part of this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Malhotra. I would just request, Ms. Maria, you're here and you've seen the entire awards. What's your message to all the winners in this set? Over to you, ma'am.
No, I just heard the entire panel, and also, with what Rishi and Anil just said about Sahil and the building, I've always sort of, when I've looked at this industry, I've always seen this great pride that the industry always holds for their developments, and how they feel that what they create and the structures that they build are some of the best in the world, which is the way to be. Until we take that pride and the real sort of upbeatness about our work. And I think real estate industry is just great at it to understand and, appreciate. I know pandemic has sort of put us all down. The work that would have been finished by now is probably taking more longer. But I think the industry has the right spirit, and it also has the right project. So I would wish all the very best to everybody. And what a great panel. I was on the background listening to all of it. So especially what Mr. Ankit and Mr. Udhav and Sahil said about, how real estate is going to change and how things are going to move forward was really great. So thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Maria. Well, with this, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude with the panel discussion and the awards for this segment. Thank you all for joining us once again. And we'll see you on the other side with our next panel. Thank you to our eminent panelists for giving us your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.